Hey there gamers, DreamcastGuy here, and today we're talking about Battlefield 6 because it is finally here. Perhaps the biggest game of 2025. A lot of people are calling it the Call of Duty killer. Even hours after launch, it actually has 700,000 concurrent players on Steam, millions of people on PlayStation. But I want to break down the goods and the bads because I've been playing it, and I want to say that I'm actually enjoying this more than the beta. I put in about 65 hours into the beta, and immediately the final version of the game is bigger, it's better, it's tighter, and honestly, I think this is it. I think this is the future of FPS. But let me talk about this because I do have a couple tiny complaints. Let's get into it. Hi, hope you're having a great day. And if you could, please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Let's see if we can get this video to 2,000 likes. Now, I'm the kind of person where I've played a lot of previous Battlefields, but I wouldn't say that I was ever like the biggest, craziest fan. I'd probably put a couple hundred hours into the entire series, but I was very off-put by the last major Battlefield we got was Battlefield 2042. And honestly, I just thought that game was so weird. It was so badly balanced. I don't know, that game, it was just so focused on trying to be almost arcadey instead of being what we really enjoy, a big Battlefield. I always felt like what Battlefield does best, that a lot of other shooters just don't have the heart to do, is make you a single soldier on these giant war fronts, running to the front lines, getting in vehicles, trying to swap classes and rocket launcher a helicopter, or reviving your buddies to keep your team kills as high as possible. I do feel like Battlefield 6 takes all the best parts of Battlefield and makes them somehow even better. I mean, it makes them so much better. But let me start with the negatives, because as positive as this video is going to be, my one complaint is honestly, man, does the campaign suck. And I still just think the always online aspect of it has a bit of issues immediately, which is that, okay, let's start with that campaign. So there is a single player in this. I mean, technically, at least. I mean, it is 9 missions long, and honestly, it's absolutely pathetic. It's this weird faction, this paramilitary group called Pax Armata, has essentially replaced NATO. It's become like the World Defense Force, but of course, they're secretly evil, so they've taken over the entire planet. And so now you and your squad have to try and defeat Pax Armata, go into Georgia, trying to fight them in the streets of New York. And I'll be honest, it just sucks. The voice acting is bad. Everything is weirdly animated. It's essentially a glorified tutorial. But I also got to say, I really couldn't suspend my disbelief. I do feel like a lot of, first-person shooter campaigns are usually outlandish and ridiculous. But, as an American, especially as a guy living in Texas, we have a thing called Y'all-Qaeda, which is that there are rednecks out here, and I mean this complimentary, who have been just basically stockpiling explosives and guns since the 1970s. So the idea of them just swooping in and instantly taking over America, it's a little silly. But let me talk about the weird issues I've had actually with the server itself. So obviously this is always online. Even if you're playing the single player, you actually have to be connected to the internet, which means that if you get disconnected, if anything goes wrong, you get booted offline. But there's also a login queue, meaning that every time you play this game, you have to connect to EA services for anything, right? I guess because I got to verify your playtime or microtransactions. That means every time anything goes wrong, you go back to the back of the line. I've had times where I waited through a line that was over 400,000 people in line. I just feel like single player should be a separate offline thing at the very least, but the other strange part of this is that it ends up leading to some messed up lobbies. Obviously, it's day one. The game is explosively popular. This is the biggest game on the planet right now. I've had multiple times where, even though this is the biggest game of all time, half the lobby gets booted and they get replaced with bots. Now, I'll admit this only happened 5 or 6 times, but it was very strange when you're battling against the enemy team and they all become bots. You're there and you're thinking, man, I'm kicking all this butt. Turns out it's a bunch of robots. It's a strange server thing, but obviously day one, these kinks will get sorted out. Let's talk about the gunplay, the game modes, and what makes this feel very different from the beta. The two big complaints everybody had from the beta, myself included, was that the maps we had back then were way too tiny, and the other one was the movement itself. There was a strange ability to essentially slide cancel is the term. You could like slide and stand up to basically go faster than sprinting. People were like jetting across the ground. It looked incredibly stupid, and in a game that's supposed to be so realistic, obviously very counterintuitive. But they've removed that, and they also removed the weird jumping. If you jumped, it would not mess with your accuracy. People were bunny hopping around with shotguns. It was so stupid. The final version of the game, they removed that. Now it is back to hyper-realism. But let me talk about the vehicles, the combat, just the raw visceral carnage. What makes Battlefield 6 so incredibly fun is honestly just those big, huge battles. 64-person lobbies trying to capture points. Most of the game modes that I enjoy the most are things like Conquest, things where you're trying to push into a base, times where people are in a rail-reinforced high-up area. They've got the hill, and you have to try and mark targets and push them up and make sure you're communicating with your teammates and carefully reviving. Honestly, what makes Battlefield 6 more fun than anything else is when you win, you have to earn it. This is a sweaty game that even casuals can get into because I feel like the quick time to kill and the heavy weaponry, it just feels good. If you get hit, you die. This is a game with a very, very, very short time to kill, and I think that makes it feel a lot better. But it does bring me to the team play mechanic of it. You see, all the guns in this are incredibly well balanced. I just really feel like from the M4 to the sniper rifles to the shotguns, everything feels absolutely marvelous. Even this day one patch, if this was a perma patch, if this was literally it for the weapons as they were forever going to exist, there are 45 weapons in this game, from pistols to grenade launchers and stuff. Everything I've tested pretty extensively feels so dang good. Now, there is a sense of weapon customization as you level up, as you get kills, as you complete matches and capture points. You can tinker with your gun, adding in bigger clips, faster reload, different styles of scope. Now, all of that is great, but this goes down to the system that I think is the most controversial, the class system. So, whenever you're in these big matches, you do have to worry about your team balance. This isn't like Call of Duty where you can just one-man army, rah, sprint behind enemy lines and kill 55 people and drop a nuke. That's not how this works. Instead, this very much is about careful planning, about communication, and about proper balance. So there are 4 separate classes. The Assault, which is like your standard heavy gunner. It's a character that basically has a lot more ability to just pop in plates, blow up targets, set mines and stuff, right? The Engineer, their specialty is, of course, repairing vehicles, making sure the tanks, the cars, everything stays gassed up and ready to kill. There's the Support, which is my personal favorite. It's the Medic. They've got defibrillators. They can instant revive people. More on that in a second. But also, I just think the Support in general, their ability to sort of help people out, dropping ammo packs and stuff, putting down shield barriers and stuff. I just think the Support, such a fun freaking class. Being a backup, so to speak, against some of these teams feels incredibly pivotal in some of those really nasty battles. And finally, the Recon, which is basically the sniper class. Now, the reason I said part of this is controversial is that in previous Battlefield games, up until recently, up until the previous game, and now this one, there was a thing called locked weapons. Basically, every class only had access to certain guns. And a lot of people really liked this. Basically, Recons had the ability to only use sniper rifles, or at least long-range-ish guns, because every time the Recon scopes somebody, it actually points them out on the minimap. So a Recon is a very crucial part of any squad, being able to point out, hey, there's guys trying to flank us. Hey, those people off in the distance are sniping us. We have to snipe them back. It made it so there was a sense of balance. You needed to play a particular class to get a particular outcome. Whereas now, what they call this is unlocked weapons. Basically now, everything is fully swappable. Any class can use any weapon. And some people just don't like this. Some people think that it kind of breaks the game because you can be a Recon with a machine gun and just be tagging every target instantly. You can be a shotgun wielding medic and just behind enemy lines while also mass reviving your other friends with shotguns. You get like 2 medics with a shotgun camped in a building and annoy the enemy team for way too long. But I think I'm in a spot where even though there are some locked weapon playlists, I think there should be more. I think that there should be like half the game should be unlocked weapons, unlocked classes, and some of them should be locked weapons. Like, I have not played tons and tons of hours of Battlefield 3. I'm not going to pretend I'm some Battlefield 3 expert, but I did kind of like that each class kind of had their own lane, their own very specific skills. So when you said, hey, I need backup from a medic, you specifically meant this kit. Even so, I do think the unlocked weapons does lead to a lot of very fun, crazy fights. But let me talk a bit more just about the gunplay itself and how much I like these vehicles, honestly. So there are 9 maps at launch. Now, that might sound really tiny. You might be saying, oh, Call of Duty's got like 25 maps. These maps are enormous. We're talking maps that are entire, fully realistic cities. Like, we're talking blocks and blocks and blocks of sniper nests and blown out structures and crazy bunkers and so much goodness. Every single map is so incredibly fun. I mean, I kind of don't like that desert gas station silo one, not as much anyways, but I still feel like all 9 of the maps are so big and so fun. A lot of these conquest game modes can last 30 or 40 minutes because as you're pushing in, trying to slowly take them over, section by section, block by block, it feels so incredibly good, especially because there's such a heavy level of full destructibility. When you hop into a tank or a helicopter or anything and you start just literally cruising down the road, blowing up structures that practically get vaporized, they go down brick by brick. It is so cool. Every aspect of the destructibility of this, I don't even know how it's possible. I'll be honest, I would watch a documentary about how much this is built. I mean, how this is done, because the fact that I can break a building that somebody's in, there are times where the map looks 100% different at the end of it than it did at the beginning, because after an hour of just super glittoral, ridiculous, nasty combat, you've pretty much blown up the whole city. It feels so good. I gotta say, the most addictive part of Battlefield 6 is still just that moment-to-moment gameplay. It just feels so good to flank somebody and get behind them, to go into a building and manage to kill 5 people and get the jump before you get downed. But this brings me to my final point. Why team play is so dang important. In almost every mode they have in this, there is a shared life pool. This is not a game where you can just respawn. In a lot of gameplay, you're probably wondering why I don't just press insta revive. That is because a lot of times you have like 200 shared lives, which sounds like a lot, you know? Oh, we've got 32 people. It means we can all die, 1.5 times, whatever, right? Whereas the thing is, as you start to die, it reduces that total count. However, if you get revived, it doesn't lower your death. So because of it, there is a legit strategy for being slow, for being careful, for getting revived. Having a bunch of medics very carefully actually following behind your main heavy hitters and stuff, or having an engineer fixing your tank as you push in on enemy lines, that way it doesn't get disassembled, stuff like that. Actually thinking about how to play creates a different experience. It is so fantastic to me, and honestly so addictive to just see how this game keeps managing to make it where each individual person is a tiny blip on the map, but somehow working together, being a squad, coordinating, caring about the victory, capturing points, and not just trying to get no-scope 360 kill cams. It feels great. I absolutely love Battlefield 6. I gotta say, it's kind of hard to put a score on it because honestly, so many of these games keep growing and evolving. I think Electronic Arts said their goal is to hit 100 million players. I would say my only other gripe, there are tons of leaks that there's like some sort of Battlefield 6 Battle Royale that's currently done or in development. I kind of wish they just launched that right now. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I do like Battle Royales. This gunplay is so fun. These graphics are so insane. This destructibility is so freaking awesome. I want that Battle Royale now. Why are you trying to space it out? Drop it right now. Unless maybe they're going to drop it on the release date of Battlefield or Call of Duty, which would be quite hilarious. These have just been some off-the-cuff thoughts. So how do you feel about Battlefield 6? I'm assuming if you've watched this video, I feel like there's a solid 25% chance you also bought it. Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. Also, this gameplay is recorded on the PlayStation 5 Pro. I specifically did that because I played however many tens of hours on the PC for the beta. It's great on PC, but I wanted to play it on PS5 specifically because they have an XP boost. And you know what? I wanted that XP boost. I want to power level on my guns. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.